gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We are set for week 2 of this fun little show we started. We want to thank everyone who helped last week, who supported the podcast last week. We are excited to say we are up over 500 subscribers. We are just getting started. Hopefully you guys can continue to spread the word. Also, a lot of people have been asking me about an audio form, a podcast form. We are up on all the podcast platforms, Podbean, Spotify, iHeart. We're up on all of them except for one right now. That's a big one. Apple, we're still waiting to hear back from them, but we should be up on Apple very soon, hopefully by the end of the day. So if you don't check out the show on YouTube every day, make sure you can check it out on all the podcast platforms as well. Subscribe, like, rate, all that good stuff, and tell a friend or two about what we're doing. Hopefully we can continue to grow something pretty fun right here in the Quad Cities. Well, a lot to get to on a busy Monday. Coming up in a matter of moments, Pat Anger. That's how we like to start our weeks here on the show. Pat Anger will be joining us. We got some React to Overreact with Pat Angerer, plus a segment that we started last week that I think is going to skyrocket to the top of the social media world. It's Angerer Management, where Pat gives you life advice or life lessons. It's pre-recorded this week. It's fantastic. You're going to have to check it out. Also, coming up later in the show, we will chat with Rusty VanWetzinga. Of course, Rusty, with the University of Iowa the last couple of years, he decided to leave Iowa. He is now at Central Michigan. We'll talk about his decision to leave the University of Iowa, his new home in Michigan, and also his little brother who's going to be starting up with the Hawkeyes, all that, and much, much more in just a little bit. But we start our show today with a friendly face, a familiar face, the one and only Pat Anger joins me. Pat, can you actually hear me right now?
I can hear you. Unfortunately, I can see you too. So that's tough. I'm going to move this over your face, so that helps. How are you, man? This is a little bit less intimate than being in your mansion.
I'm bummed because I've been sick. I got sick last night. Do you get sick?
Oh, really?
Like as an adult? Do you get the flu?
I mean, I get sick and then I complain about it until my wife makes me go to the doctor. But yeah, I get sick. It's funny. Like the kids will get sick, and it's you're like, he's fine or whatever, and they'll play a full weekend of sports, and then you realize on Monday they have like pneumonia or something, right? And I'm just so soft. I'm so soft in my old age. No. If your kids were as sick as you would send them off to school.
100%. That's what I was just going to say. I got sick, and I'm the biggest baby when it comes to being sick. And then I was even thinking about canceling the show. I feel better this morning, but I don't feel as prepped, as ready for the show as I was last week. So, and then if anybody watched last week, there was a day, I think Thursday, where Mediacom just messed with me big time. Well, my wife just sent me a text saying Mediacom is working on our internet in the area. So who knows if we have to deal with that. So, but hey, was it a good weekend for you? What did you do? Was it all youth sports all the time for you?
Fortunately, so Friday I went to the DeWitt basketball game. They had their cake auction. And that was awesome. I was so impressed just with the community support, the Booster Club, and they raised a ton of money. It was amazing. And IH, we were able to win the popcorn bag sponsorship, so that was a big deal. So we'll be on the popcorn bags out there in DeWitt. And then Saturday, my kids, my oldest boy played in Palo, Iowa for basketball, and then Sunday,
that's travel basketball. He must be really good.
Well, I mean, nowadays everybody's on a travel team, so it doesn't even matter. And then Sunday, I was able to talk my wife into going because she didn't go Saturday. So Sunday, she went with my fifth grader. So I was able to just hang out and watch my daughter sing and dance all day in front of the TV. So it was a good little day.
Pat Anger, the family man. I love that. Hey,
how was your weekend? What'd you do other than get sick?
Well, my wife was gone all weekend, so I was locked into.
Did she leave you permanently now?
No,
I thought she left you a long time ago.
She came back She came back last night. I don't know why. She's been encouraged to, leave me from the start, but no, she came back, and God bless when she did, because I was feeling miserable. And how do you feel if you're like, one, I mean, she runs this whole thing, and then she gets home and she's got a whiny 45-year-old fat balding husband talking about how sick he is. Like, I just feel so bad for her. She could have done so much better, Pat.
Women love a project. Women love a project. They love to be fixers. So that's why our wives are with us.
No, she's got a lot to fix. No, we just did the youth basketball stuff. I tried to watch as much of the NFL stuff as possible, but we had my oldest is playing high school ball, so he had a couple games, and yeah, it was just a whole bunch of, what it's like. It's basketball, it's a blur, and then next thing you know, baseball's going to start up, and it was a blur and all that kind of stuff. So, but no, it was a good weekend. I didn't cause any trouble or anything like that. I want to start today with you. We got a lot to get to about the weekend. I want to talk to you about a few things, but I want to talk to you about a guy, our good friend Tom Caker brought this to my attention about a half hour before the show started. But 11 years ago today, Norm Parker passed away, legendary defensive coordinator at the University of Iowa, and not just a DC. You know what I mean? He was a mentor to so many dudes, and I know you're one of those guys. When you think about Norm, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, just a legend. And I received a call, 11 years ago today from Coach Doyle, and kind of telling me what happened. And it's just, for me, Norm, you always thought he was going to live forever, because he was just that legendary man. And Coach, he always had the best things to say at the right moment, like always the most perfect things to say. And I have my alarm. I have it in my calendar. Every day this year at about 5 a.m. or whenever it says, hey, Norm Parker's, death anniversary. And it gets me up out of bed. So I think every morning, half the time I don't want to get up and work out. And obviously I do work out even though I look fat, but, am fat. But he would always say, boys do what they want to do, men do what they have to do. And that gets me up every freaking morning. And that's why, legends never die, right? Because Norm lives in every single one of us that played for him and that knew him. He's always there pointing us in the right direction, even though he's not. But he was awesome, man. I love that guy. I miss him a lot. I'm glad he was in my life, and I'm glad he believed in me.
You mentioned Normisms. There's a lot of them. I've heard a lot of amazing stories. Can you share a story or two about Norm? I mean, there's some that I've heard that maybe you don't want to share. I've heard a lot of them that you can share. What are some Normisms or stories with Norm? Everybody's got a great Norm impression, I think. What are some Normisms or some things or some stories about Norm that you can pass along?
Well, you'd walk into the meeting room and he'd be like, $1 million waiting on a dime, get your ass in here. Or, one of those late, those late days during camp, when you've been there all day and you're watching film, everybody's tired, and he'd be, watching film and talk about a play, and then he'd fall asleep, and like 2 or 3 plays would pass through, and he'd wake up and he'd know exactly, whose ass to chew, and he'd know exactly, how to coach it. And, for me, it was, my going into my junior year, him pulled me aside just saying, hey, I believe in you. You're doing great. You're going to play a lot of football. Because up until that point I hadn't, and I had to earn his trust. And that was a big thing for me in my life is just earning his trust and respect. And then, going into the Orange Bowl game, him saying, you're going to have a ton of tackles. This defense is set up for you to make a ton of tackles this game. And now, unfortunately, Claiborne made all of them. He wouldn't let them get back to me, that bastard. And
selfish.
I know. So just let me make the tackle 5 yards downfield. Come on, Adrian. But just seeing the joy on his face after the game, because that was him. That was the reason why we won that game, was because Coach Parker. He just the best. He always knew what to do. Always knew what to say. Zero ego. And if anybody in that building should have had an ego, it should have been him. And the one thing that's crazy too, I mean, he was obviously older in his career when I got there, and he could still relate to all of us. He could relate to everybody. And he would always say, I'm never going to judge a kid by yesterday, because, at this age, you can you can be one kid on a Monday and completely figure everything out on Tuesday. So he goes, I'll never give up on you. And glad he didn't give up on me.
It's amazing how many sayings that you remember from that guy. And that's that's the sign of a leader, isn't it? That like, here we are, you haven't spoken to him in 11 years plus, and you remember the things that he taught you to a T. That's the sign of a leader, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. And I use it in my work. I use it in my, my parenting. I use it in, being a husband. And I mean, he's a leader and a legend, because his legacy lives on through all of us and how we live our life. And I hope someday I'm even half the man that he is.
Pat, don't blame Norm for your parenting. That's not fair. Don't bring him into that mess. Right. One more thing on Norm. I remember the Orange Bowl week and him literally taking, I think it was soda cans or whatever, to explain how they're going to stop, or how you want to stop Georgia Tech. He was a very simple man, but to this day, simplicity is effective, is successful. Kind of talk about how if you did your job correctly, good things happen. He was very simple when it came to concepts, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, you look at what's the Bruce Lee, the Bruce Lee quote, like, I'd rather, master one kick than know 1,000 kicks, or something like that.
I'm
but
sure
like
that's
that's
exactly what it was.
It's something like that, right? It's something somebody will figure that out. But he we ran one defense. I mean, really, we ran one play. But the way that he taught it to us, the way that we, were coached and everything, we ran that thing correctly. There's nothing that was going to stop us. And like, he would also say, like, you're like a computer, right? You throw a bunch of stuff in a computer, and it's going to run slow, right? I want you to run fast. So we're gonna make it simple, but we're gonna be aggressive. We're gonna be fast. We're gonna fly around the ball, and it freaking worked. It worked.
Yeah. If Norm, if somebody could tell Norm today that you, here 11 years later, were the radio analyst for Iowa football, you're smiling, but what would his response be to what you're doing for the program right now?
Oh man, I bet he would have something very, very good to say, very intelligent, but also extremely, extremely funny. And I'm sure he would be like, "What in the hell is going on with the university right now?" But,
what would he think of Iowa football today?
Well, I think he would love the fact that they're still instilling the same things that he instilled in the kids, the same things that he coached us. And I think he would love, and I think he would appreciate that, because I'm sure there's things that Coach Ferentz does that all the coaches do that they learned from Coach Parker.
All right, well, we'll move on to some other sports, and we'll stick kind of –
I'm glad I got through that without crying. That was good.
Well, I don't feel like I did a good enough job. So let's go back to Norm. He's no longer here. No, I'm just kidding.
Stop it.
So the University of Iowa, some good, some bad this weekend. We'll start with the women's basketball team, which I know that you're locked in, invested in, and all that kind of stuff. But we'll play some react, overreact. Is this an overreaction or not? So the Iowa women lost this weekend. They dropped their third straight game. The Hawkeyes are now 12-5 overall. They're just 2-4 in the Big Ten. Jan Jansen's team won't make the NCAA tournament. Is that a reaction or an overreaction?
No, I think that's an overreaction. I've known. So my wife used to babysit for Gian and Julie's kids when we were in college. I've known them forever. And just amazing, tremendous people. And we still keep in contact with Jan. Was so happy that she was able to take over the head coaching job, because she is just the most amazing person. And obviously, when you lose Caitlin, that's a freaking big loss, right? That's tough. But I'm really encouraged by the youth, and I'm encouraged by this team, and they've got a really good group of athletes. I think they're going to be just fine. With Lucy Olson transferring over, she's a great player, and they're gonna hit their stride. And they'll be. I am not worried at all about Jan Jensen and Iowa basketball. I think they're going to be great.
I completely agree. It's funny.
You didn't know that I followed. You didn't know that I paid attention. I think everybody pays attention now to
it's
the
amazing.
Iowa basketball team. But we used to go to games when we were in college.
Well, that's the thing coming into
Before it
this
was cool.
year. That's the thing. It is cool now. And I think there's a faction of people out there that are, I don't want to say waiting for the demise of Iowa basketball, but they're kind of waiting to see what happens. And when you mentioned losing Caitlin, yeah, you lost Caitlin, but Kate Martin and Gabby were both all Big Ten players. And then besides all that, people forget that Lisa Bluder's a legend. And not that Jan's not doing a great job, but they were there together. And when you lose all those type of people, for them to still be 12-5 and have some signature victories, there's going to be a little bit of growing pains along the way. But I agree with you. I think they're going to be just fine. And the beauty part of it, you mentioned you liked Iowa women's basketball before it was cool. They're still packing that place. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And that's a cool thing. So let's move to a team that isn't exactly packing Carver Hawkeye Arena. The Iowa men's basketball team, Pat. They completed an impressive week. They had a comeback victory over Nebraska. They had a blowout victory against Indiana. The Iowa men will make the NCAA tournament. Is that a reaction or an overreaction?
I have no idea. I think we're gonna make it. I don't
There you
know.
go.
I haven't watched a full game yet, but obviously Brock Harding's going to continue to score 100 points every single game, and we're going to be just fine.
You just say that because you met his mom and you thought she was cool. That's the only reason.
Oh, she's amazing. She's great. She's a good one.
Yes. No, they're playing some good basketball. I'll take that. It's hilarious how I ask you about women's basketball and you talk for 5 minutes. I ask you about men's basketball and you're like, I don't know. No, I think that is not an overreaction. I think they're going out to LA right now. They leave for USC, UCLA. So would you want to be going to California right now?
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that, especially for a week, right? Because they're probably not flying back, I would assume.
Yeah. Well, they moved tonight's football game to Arizona, but again, Tom Kakert's the smartest human being in the world. He explained to me today, like a 5-year-old, that it's an open-air arena or stadium. That's why the air quality is not great. They play basketball inside, so they should be just fine. All right, here we go.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, he's the best. The excitement.
He's great.
The excitement of Hawkeye fans landing transfer quarterback Mark Gronowski changed to fear for some when word came that he has a torn labrum and he now has to have surgery, which they already knew about. So Iowa football will get bit by damaged goods at quarterback once again. Is that a reaction or an overreaction?
It's an overreaction. I've never watched Gronowski play. I think I've read about him is positive. And I had one of the guys that one of my buddies coaches college football, and he came up to me and he's like, he's legit. So I think he'll be fine. Labrum's not a crazy. I mean, I've got a torn labrum right now. Sometimes it acts up and I can barely wipe my ass, but other than that, I get around just fine. I tore my labrum, and I want to say it was in college at some point, and I went and got it scanned at the combine. And they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. Everybody's pretty much got a torn labrum in the NFL anyway. You'll be fine. But yeah, I think he'll be great. They're getting it worked on. I think the big thing for him, obviously, he can throw and he can run and he can move. It's just learn the offense, and he's still going to be able to do those things with a torn labrum and with the recovery and all that stuff. I think I'm optimistic, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that he chose us because I'm sure he had a lot of options, and it'll be really fun. It'll be fun to cover him and watch him perform and succeed. And I think he's going to fit right in, just from everything that I've heard, fit right in Iowa City.
Is it one of those things that Iowa fans and quarterbacks it's been tough for a while, so they're just a little apprehensive that actually something good happened to them? I think that's mainly the main thing, is that they're waiting for the next bad thing to happen. Don't worry, chill out, be happy. Hey, Julian was in the house last week, and I asked him how many surgeries he had. So I'm going to ask you the same question, because you mentioned a torn labrum, and I know you had knee and all that other kind of stuff, and your eye doesn't go the right direction. I don't know if that's a surgical thing or not. But how many surgeries have you had football related? I don't need to know about the one that's not football related, but the football related surgeries.
Honestly, I don't even know. I think it's probably 12 or
I was gonna say
13
over under
ish.
10, so over 10
Yeah, it's
easily.
yeah, over 10. Yeah, yeah.
Good
It's
God.
funny when when you go to the doctor or whatever, and they ask you like, "Well, how many surgeries?" I'm like, "I don't know. Like, don't ask me that. You're the doctor. Aren't you supposed to know? I
See,
don't know.
what I hate is when like I'm there with one of my kids and they say, so what's his birthday?
What's his name? When's
No,
he
no,
born?" I know it's.
no. Well,
I'm his dad. How am I supposed to know
I
that? What
got
do you?
four kids. I
It
don't know
happens to me all
what
the
day
time.
today is. More or less what their birthday is. My God. Hey, in the NIL era, which is only a few years, the Big Ten or Northern Hemisphere teams have done pretty good. Michigan winning the national championship this year. It'll be Notre Dame or Ohio State this year. So let's say it's Ohio State and Michigan. It has the NIL era helped the Big Ten, or is that like an overreaction? You're kind of putting too much into what's happened in a short period of time. I think I just confused you.
I definitely. No, no, no. You're good. I definitely think it helps. What I do though, I think the playoff is something that benefits, the up north teams, right? Because we're based on running the ball, being physical. We're not going to spread it around, be fancy, and all that stuff. We're big bodies up front. We're playing tough defense. I think that's the main thing is the fact that it's a playoff, and the toughest team who's ever built the most physical is going to win the game. Granted, Ohio State. They've got a pretty solid squad. I think the NIL definitely helped Ohio State, but still they were getting those players prior to. Um, but I really think that it boils down to it's the line of scrimmage, it's the guys up front, it's establishing the run, it's playing tough defense, and that's what can get you through a playoff, and it's showing that this year.
Who wins the national championship? Notre Dame, Ohio State, two traditional powerhouses. Who wins the national
Well, I
championship?
mean, you think about Ohio State hasn't won since like what 2014, 2013 when they first did the four-person playoff, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
say Notre Dame hasn't won since like the 80s,
Yeah, it's been
right?
a
So
minute.
obviously powerhouses, but I've said since since Michigan beat Ohio State, I've said Ohio State was going to win, so I'm gonna keep with that one. I think that they've got a lot of talent. Honestly, when you look at the quarterbacks that have played in the last couple, I haven't been super impressed with any of them other than the Ohio State guy. Now I can't even think of his name off the top of my
Will
head, but
Howard.
I think, yeah, Will Howard. I think the other guys they try to do too much, and I think Will Howard relaxed and he made the plays when he needed to. He didn't force it. Grant, he's got receivers that are 9 foot tall and run 4.4s. That helps. But I think as far as him just from a personal standpoint, I think he relaxes and he takes what the defense gives him, and obviously he's got a ton of talent around him. So I think he's a better quarterback. I think Ohio State's a better team. So I'm going to go with Ohio State
Why do you hate Catholic?
Buckeyes.
Why do you hate Catholic colleges? Why do you hate Catholics? What did the Pope ever do to you? Seriously.
I'm here talking to you, right? The
Yeah,
Holloman guy.
you must
Um,
like Catholic. Hey,
I love Joe Conklin.
yes. I'm thinking I should probably send the react overreact to you ahead of time so you know what I'm going to ask you. But you've been doing great with this. You've been killing it. I'm going to explain the NFL a
Oh,
little
thank
bit.
you.
Did you watch the? Oh, I almost called them the Redskins. The Commanders like game last night.
I did actually. That was the only game I watched.
Okay, good.
I think from start to finish.
Okay, so as you
I mean,
know,
I missed a little bit here and there.
yeah, yeah. Well, as you know, I got my Dan Campbell up here. I'm a big Lions fan. The Lions now play Washington with a rookie quarterback coming into Detroit, a rookie quarterback who played really well. Did the Lions catch a break last night, and are they the odds-on favorite to go to the Super Bowl for the NFC?
Ooh, I mean, the Eagles are going to be tough too if they win this one. That's a tough little get. Um, I like Jane Daniels. He's a challenge. He's going to be a challenge for the Lions. However, the Lions have Jack Campbell, who's amazing and really tall, and so I don't think that's going to be an issue. But I don't know at this stage in the NFL playoffs, I don't think anybody really catches a break. I mean, all these teams are good. All these teams are
Yeah.
talented and they're tough. I mean, I think the one year, a lot of the years, I mean, the lower seed makes it. I mean, I want to say in 2014, 2013, when we played the Ravens first round, um, they're a wild card team and played away every single game and won the Super Bowl. But yeah, I don't necessarily think any teams you're catching a break, but I think I like the Lions. I don't know if I'd say odds-on favorite. I know probably in your house they are. I know in my house my kids are all in on the Lions. I would love to see them
really
win.
Hey, did you see they had Jack Campbell and Ben Neiman starting at linebacker like 4 games ago? 2 Iowa dudes playing linebacker for Dan Campbell. How can you not love the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, and I played in Indy with their linebacker coach, Kelvin Shepard. So
did you? He's going to be their DC,
yeah,
I think.
You think so?
If Aaron Glenn leaves, which I think he's gonna, I think they say Kelvin Shepard may be their defense coordinator. Is that a good thing?
Interesting. I don't know. Hopefully. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a long time. I think it should be fine. I don't know.
Call him. Let me know. I want to talk to him. Get him on the show. I'd love to have him on the show.
Yeah, I should. I think Shep will be fine. He was always an intelligent player when we played together. But no, I'm pro Lions. I think the Lions would be great. I obviously grew up listening to Little Kid Rock and Slim Shady, so I'm all in on the Lions. I know you're a big Insane Clown Posse guy.
I love it.
But yeah, I'm pro Lions.
Hey, last week you brought me the bobblehead for the Pat Anger bobblehead. Let's begin hidden.
Where is that?
Did you see what Andrew Lehman brought? Did you see the
I never
T
liked
marker?
him.
The T marker?
I never liked him. He's always trying to one-up me.
We have anger management to get to. I'm really excited about that. Before we go, one last reaction, overreaction. Last but not least, Joe Conklin is the best looking guy in the state of Iowa. Reaction, overreaction.
I agree. I mean, from the front and the back too, because that's something that you have to include in that. He is, and also just he commands a room when he walks in there with his beautiful salt and pepper hair, his tight bod. He's amazing.
Do you think he'll ever come on? Do you think he'll ever come on the show?
Honestly, I don't think he'll ever talk to us ever again, let alone come on the show.
Especially after this. Hey, we're going to hit a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get our anger management and then talk about that. And then I'm going to let you go back to work. From the looks behind you, it looks like you had a busy Monday morning going.
This isn't my desk. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to lunch. I'm trying to figure out Pancheros or California burrito. Like that's all I've looked forward to.
Are you
what?
When you get Chinese food, where do you go? Are you a Chinese food fan?
The only time we get Chinese food, we go to Hy-Vee. Little Hai Chai.
Because the whole thing I looked forward to all weekend when my wife was gone was we were going to get Panda Express, me and the boys. And then I got sick last night. I didn't get the Panda Express. And when you get sick, you don't eat. And then when you start feeling better, you're really hungry. So I'm trying to figure out where to treat myself for lunch today. It might be a Pancheros type of day.
Get that double meat, man. You got to.
Always. All right. Well, we're going to hit a quick break. He's Pat Anger talking about double meat. It's a Monday here on Off the Air.
You have to get the double meat.
But it's expensive. I don't make the money that you make. I'm unemployed.
I've seen your house.
I'm unemployed.
I've seen your house.
I'm doing this for free.
You have
I'm
500
unemployed.
subscribers. You're loaded.
Yeah.
You get $1 per subscriber.
Do I? No.
That's what Mark Zuckerberg said, I think.
Oh, well, I got to look into that. Anyways, we got more with Pat Anger right after this.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West. the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
You from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Back on Off the Air with the one and only Pat Angerer. Speaking of food,
I want some Snoops. I want Snoops so bad.
Snoop's chips and salsa will get you through a weekend of football in a minute. Before we get to our anger management, is it weird not having football games to call right now? Now that the season's over, do you find yourself like on a Saturday afternoon, like doing the analysis of like Mary washing the dishes or something like that? Or do you walk around like being overly critical of people? Or I shouldn't say critical, because you weren't very critical. You're a homer, which you should be. So do you miss it?
I think it's very sexist of you to think that my wife washes the dishes and I don't.
The dishwasher washes.
I did the
dishes.
laundry. I do the laundry and I wash the dishes and all that.
I'm so proud of you.
No, it's weird. It is. I miss it. I miss hanging out with those guys and being around the program, being in the games and all that stuff like that. That was a lot of fun. Obviously, it's weird like having to be a dad every weekend. I don't get no days off anymore. No days off. Like I've got to talk to my kids and stuff like that. So, but I am not. We got a vacation coming up here, so I'm looking forward to that. My wife probably needs it more than I need it because she's been stuck with the kids all year. So, I obviously miss it, and I am not color commentating. And I'm definitely, when I'm at my kids' sporting events, I'm usually not paying attention because those are tough. Those get tough sometimes.
When you were in the league, you spent your off seasons preparing for the next year. Maybe, I don't know. I'm assuming you're a professional athlete and doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to do to prepare for next year as a color analyst, or are you just gonna wing it like you did this year?
Honestly, I have been listening to, like, obviously in the car when we're driving up. I love listening to games on the radio, and you get little tidbits here and there. For me, I want to spend more time in Iowa City, more time at practice, more time in the meeting rooms, get more of an idea as to what they're doing, their terminology and stuff like that. That way I can sound like less of an idiot on the radio.
So last week I kind of tossed this on you, but I wanted you to kind of start a segment called Anger Management and kind of just give life advice. I think last week's you said that you could care less, not couldn't care less, which is very, did I say that right?
It's a big one.
Did I say that right?
You did. That was a big one.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I like
no,
because
you did great.
Obviously it had an impact on you because you were thinking about it and you came up with an anger management ahead of time this week. So I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna listen to it. I want everyone to just listen to these words, and then maybe I'll come back and get your reaction to your life lesson, if that makes any sense. So without further ado, the second edition of Anger Management.
Media mogul, broadcaster of the next generation. I don't know. I just made that up. It sounded good. Well, this cold, I'm here to tell you about one of my favorite stories that I think has a lot of really quality life lessons in there. Maybe tell it to your kids, maybe tell it a different way. But anyway, there's this bird. This bird's flying south for the winter and comes across this bad weather, this cold weather. And it's flying and it starts to pour down cold rain and sleet on this bird, and it's freezing. And what happens is the bird's wings start to freeze. And as the bird's wings start to freeze, obviously it becomes pretty impossible to fly. So the bird falls down from the sky into this cow pasture. And it's laying there and it's freezing and it's lonely and it's thinking that it's going to die. And doesn't really think it's got much hope left for life. And it's sad. And what happens is a cow comes over and takes a crap right on that bird. And the cow poop is pretty warm, and it warms the bird, and the bird's able to move his arms, and it gets the bird excited. The bird's not going to die. The bird's fired up about life and starts singing and chirping and is just really excited. And a cat hears that bird. A little farm cat hears that bird singing. Comes over to the bird, pulls it out of the cow crap, puts it in his mouth and eats it. So the moral of the story is, not everybody that craps on you is your enemy. And not everybody that pulls you out of crap is your friend. But when you're in deep crap, you better shut your damn mouth. That's my anger management for the day.
That's deep.
I fell asleep halfway through it. What did I say?
You said crap, which when I played it to my kids, they laughed and giggled and everything else. But you're a deep individual, aren't you? There's a lot going on in that dome of yours, isn't there?
Sometimes there's a lot, sometimes there's not a lot. Yeah.
It
just depends on the day.
I hope somebody's watching this or will watch this, and that will make their Monday like awesome and move towards the next level of stuff. It's going to be amazing.
I hope so too. I hope that changes the world.
I think it's going to.
I hope that changes the world, Matt.
What does the rest of your Monday look like? What are you doing right now at work? I've had two people text me, what does angerer do? I have had two people text me during this say, what does angerer do? So what do you do?
I'm still trying to figure that out. No, so I do business development and I do community funding at IH Mississippi Valley Credit Union.
Those are just words. What does that mean? Those are words.
So
those
basically,
fancy words.
So we are credit unions are nonprofits, right? So we have to give money back. Not have to. We choose to give money back to the communities and everything that we serve. And what I do is part of my job is that community funding. So I have the best job to where I get to find nonprofits. I get to review donation requests, and I get to hand out money in our community, which is awesome. It's amazing. And then the business development aspect that's bringing in new business. That's also getting out in the community, going to events, representing IH from kind of a public standpoint, and meeting with business members, meeting with indie members, and pretty much anything they need me to do, I am willing to do. It's this job it's been amazing. It's been great. Obviously did mortgages for a long time. I was able to finance your $1 billion house and kind of retire off of that. But I chose to continue to be in banking. And it's just, you go from mortgages where you're basically chasing papers, right? To business development where you're out and about and you're in the community. Like that's amazing. It's been a lot of fun. I love the people here. They're tremendous, and got a good team and a really, really good staff. And I love that they, one of the things too is, when I got asked to do the radio job, I went to the higher ups here and I just said, hey, I've got this opportunity, thinking about pursuing it, I really want to do it. But obviously if you say no, like I won't do it. And they're like, if it's good for you, Pat, it's good for us. I'm like, that's awesome. That's huge. That's where you want to work. And they've been good to me. And hopefully they continue to put up with me for many more years.
IH Mississippi Valley Credit Union, not a sponsor, could be, not a sponsor of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo.
Well, I handle the sponsors, so I'll probably just
could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Well, I'm waiting for my paycheck for my Monday paycheck from off the air. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Well, it's
if
on
that
its way.
clears.
Last one for you. A lot of people have asked me since last week, and just in general, people ask me a lot, how's Brett doing? And I know I love it because I'll get a text, or our group will get a text on a Wednesday or a Friday, and you'll have a Brett story or something that I know you still go and work out with him and stuff like that. So I guess if people said to you, how is Brett doing? Give us an update on Brett. And I know it's something that you mentioned, the things in your life that are pretty important. That dude's pretty important in your life. I know that for sure.
Yeah, he's a good one. He's a good one. I talk about how easy our defense was with Norm running it, and Brett was the only one that knew what the hell we were doing. So
That's true.
he's a good one. He's obviously, a lot of people have probably only seen him. Last time they saw him was in 2015. He's definitely doing a lot better since then. Now, this will be a lifelong thing. This is something that he's gonna have to deal with and fight through, forever. And he's got the grit and the resiliency and the toughness to do it. And he's ornery and he's stubborn, and he's funny. It's funny because prior to the accident, like we could never really get him to really talk or open up, and now we can't get him to shut up half the time. And he's always mentioning my wife's ex-boyfriends from middle school, and so that's always great to get reminded of that every Monday and Wednesday. But as far as walking, it's getting better. He's making little progress every single time I see him, and every time he works hard, and I get more benefit from being around him than I'm sure he gets from me just saying vulgar things and making fun of him while he's working out. But it's huge for me personally to be able to be around Brett and still be a part of his life, because if you're not in a situation like that, then everything that we were preached and were told when we were playing was bullcrap. So I mean, this is what you do. This is what teammates do.
He's hilarious. He really is, and he gives you so much shit when I see it, which is awesome.
Yes,
if you're on the YouTube page, you can go down. I posted the story I did with you and Brett and Joe, and the little guy Matt Rokes was in it. It was probably 2-3 years ago, but that's kind of what continues to this day, except for Joe just like kind of up and left and just kind of left us as high and dry.
Every day Brett asks, where's Joe at? And we tell him that Joe abandoned us, for better pastures.
That's and you know what, he is doing that. So Brett is fantastic. Pat, you're fantastic. Start thinking of next week's anger management, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing. It usually is. And let me know what you get for lunch. I'm going to be trying to figure out what I'm going to get to. I got to go get my hair cut, whatever I have left of it.
God, that must be nice, dude. Over
in 53rd. So like there's so many things between my little old house here in Milan, Illinois, and 53rd Street that I might hit up Hawaiian Bros.
Oh, Hawaiian Bros is great.
Yeah, I might have to hit that
Bros
up.
Is
so,
good.
All right, we'll go pretend to work.
I'm going Pancheros.
Yeah, we need to take Brett again to Pancheros. Because last time we take him to lunch every once in a while, and we wasted it on you talking at the Grid Club. So we didn't get to go and actually have a good time with him and watch him make fun of you. So anyways, Pat, I appreciate you. Get back to work, and they'll talk to you real soon. Unfortunately, my phone will probably talk to you. I'll probably hear from you before I need to. So, all right, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, I love you.
All right,
buddy.
He is Pat Angerer. We got a lot more to get to on today's show. Coming up in just a little bit, we will be joined by Rusty VanWetzinga, a former Pleasant Valley product. Played the last couple of years at the University of Iowa, decided to get into the transfer portal. He's now at Central Michigan. We'll talk to him on why he decided to leave the University of Iowa and what drew him to Central Michigan, the portal, and that whole game. Speed dating in college football is what they like to call it. So a lot more to get to with Rusty VanWetzinga right after this on Off the Air.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air, a Monday here in the Quad Cities. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. If you have not subscribed and liked the YouTube channel and rated it and all that good stuff, please do so. That helps us out a ton. Tell a friend. We're trying to do some fun stuff here in the Quad Cities as we get rolling through the winter and into the spring and summer. But we're always talking football in these parts, and really excited to welcome my next guest in here. It's the one and only Rusty VanWetzinga, of course, Pleasant Valley standout, did a great job at Iowa for a couple years, and now the new commit for Central Michigan. Rusty, a lot has happened since the last time I talked to you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, a lot's changed, over the past month and a half. It's been a crazy journey just getting here, really.
Yeah.
I never would have expected to leave Iowa, but, it's a crazy whirlwind in college football these days.
Yeah, I think I want to start there because obviously this college football is a number game, and I know they went from having 128 roster spots to 105. Take me through that process. When did you kind of figure out you'd be on the wrong side of that number, and when did they give you kind of a heads up?
So mine was a little bit different than the rest of the 105. Mine really came down to a position value, and we never really used my position of fullback in our offense. This with the new offensive coordinating change, like with Lester coming in compared to with Brian. When Brian was there, I had a really good freshman year, just developing into a good fullback that I eventually earned their trust and was, I traveled every game, got my first start in the Cheez-It Bowl as a freshman. And it really started to take off there. And then when Brian was gone, we brought in Lester. The whole position value for a fullback just wasn't there. Not that there's anything wrong, because I understand every new OC has their own little gig, and I get it. So that was a little bit different for me. And I wanted to play football because I love playing football. And, sitting there watching, knowing I could play, but it just really wasn't the right fit for me at the right time. So even though my brother's going there, which is the hard part for it, I thought it was best that I go try and find somewhere else to play. And they even told me I could have stayed in the spring and, I could have competed for a 105 spot to be on basically be a special teams player, because my position didn't bring any value to offense. Yeah. So, and then I found, Drinkle, Bettendorf native here at Central Michigan. And then Derek Fulton, my position coach, played at Assumption, OC at Grandview originally. And man, it's just crazy. A lot of connections up here that I never would have thought.
You mentioned kind of seeing the changes in the Iowa offense. When did you realize it? Was it during the year type of thing? And when did you know that probably Iowa wasn't the best fit if you wanted to be on the field doing what you love, playing football?
So he came in the spring my freshman year. So he didn't really have a plan when he first came here. Like, he just installed. I mean, we were actually using a fullback for the first couple of weeks of spring ball, just trying things out. And I'm sure he was trying things out, experimenting with whatever he liked or felt most comfortable with. And then by the time we got to fall camp or like even the spring ball game, we never really used a fullback. And my dad and I kind of knew that. So I went into fall camp and, I was like, you know what? I don't want to just judge this thing without actually giving it a try. And then as the season started going around, fall camp started going around, there was no 21 personnel. And I was like, all right, I know this is going. That was very early in the season. And I remember talking to my dad about that, like this might not be the best fit for me. And then sooner or later, the 105 thing came out. And I was like, I'm not even going to try to, fight for my spot here. I'm just going to go somewhere else that values my position.
Yeah, and I know you loved being a Hawkeye, but kind of take me through that balance because, you want to be a Hawkeye, but in the same stretch, you want to play the game you love and that you grew up loving and playing. Did that you had to kind of balance the two and decide between the two because ultimately, Rusty, you probably want to play football, don't you?
Yeah, so football was always my first love. Before I was a Hawkeyes fan, I just loved going to the backyard playing the game. But, I don't have any like hate towards Iowa or the staff now that I'm not there. Like even they understood my situation. My position coach, Coach Hodge, did a great job. He was reaching out to schools for me, looking for a better fit for me. And I still keep in contact with them. So believe it or not, I'm actually very thankful for Iowa. I had a great year and a half, I'd say there. And it's been awesome. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about them. It's a great staff. KF is a great job. Lester's a super positive guy. And my brother's going to go there. He's going to do great things, and I'm happy for him. I told him when I told him I was hitting the portal, I'm like, you deserve to go play at Iowa. Like, your position's not in danger. Like, you need to go there. Like, it's every Iowa kid's dream.
I'm just trying to figure out who's going to watch Joey if you're not there. Is he going to be able to survive on his own?
Yeah, no, it's going to be good for him. I think it's going to get away like 45 minutes. It's close to home, but you feel so far from home at the same time because you're literally on your own. When my parents dropped me off, like the responsibilities went up here, and you got to learn how to grow up, and it's a good thing. Every kid needs it, whether you're a student athlete or not.
All right, well, take me into the portal, aka speed dating, because everything comes at you so fast. When you go into the portal, what's that? I'm assuming first 12, 24 hours like, because it's probably a bunch of phone. When it came to dating, believe this or not, Rusty, not a lot of people were calling me. Not a lot of girls were calling me, but I'm assuming when you get to the portal, I know it's hard to believe, but I'm assuming it was a busy 12, 24 hours when you went to the portal.
So literally after I went on Twitter to announce that I was entering the portal, and not even probably an hour or so, I had a first phone call with, a certain amount of schools. And then the phone that just kept ringing and text messages like from schools all over the country, really. It wasn't like just Midwest schools. I was talking to schools in New York, down in Texas, like California, Colorado, like all those sort of schools, like everywhere. And you're just trying to process everything because you're just like ripping, like you just got a wound. You're just hitting the portal. You don't know what's going on yet. Like I have no experience in the portal. So it was a lot to process very quickly, but yeah, that was pretty much it. I didn't really know what to do or what was going on until I started to slow things down.
So what are you looking for? Is it position value, where you can play quickest, best fit? What were the things that you looked for? Because people think of the portal as like a place where schools can go shop for players, but it's also where players can go shop for schools. What were you looking for?
So for me, I never really cared about the money. Like a lot of the guys that are in the portal in today's world are super invested in just the NIL part of it. For me, it was more of, because I value the love for football more than a lot of people do, because I'm playing fullback, which is a very frowned upon position. Not necessarily frowned upon, but not as common anymore. So what I was looking for was a school that valued my position and used it a lot. So originally, I committed to Northern Illinois, and they used their fullback a ton. Brock Lampy, a great player. They disguise him they call him a tight end, but he's a fullback. And I was comfortable with that until I heard that they were looking for a new OC. And, with my experience at Iowa, everyone was telling me I was going to be fine. The fullback position would be fine with the new OC at Iowa. I didn't want to go through that again because I don't want to transfer ever again. I'm looking for a home where I can stay. And then I heard that, and then I saw some staff leaving, and I was like, I think it's time for me to go look for another place. And a lot of people think I just hit the portal to hit the portal because I decommitted a lot, and I've been pretty known for that. But I don't think much of it. But and then Drinkle got the job at CMU here, and he values fullbacks. He's been tweeting about fullbacks since I was in high school, how much he loves the position. And then he called me. Him and his staff called me, and they offered me a scholarship to play fullback here. And I think with them coming from him coming from Army, and them using a fullback as similar offense I ran in high school, I just had so much faith in how much they're going to value my position. And they really showed that support when I was offered, with their whole staff reaching out, really just welcomed me with open arms. And their OC talked to me through how they want to value and use this fullback position. And that was really intriguing to me.
Yeah. To catch people up, Matt Drinkle, who's been a fantastic college football coach over the years, recently at Army as the offensive coordinator, got that gig. We're actually trying to track down Drink. Hopefully we can get him on off the air here coming up in the next couple days or this week as well. And got the first head coaching job at CMU at the D1 level. And but he's a Bettendorf guy, Rusty, and you're a PV guy. I didn't think PV and Bettendorf guys could play together, play nicely, kind of, and obviously it's a cool fit. I know I joke a little bit, but it's a cool fit because it's somebody you have a lot of familiarity with, and he's got a lot of familiarity with our area, which I think has got to be nice for you.
So yeah, it was one of the craziest things. It just when you have a coach that's recruiting you for college and he's from your place, and he brings up a place like Sports Fans that my family always goes to, and he's talking about how much he misses it and all that. It just feels good. It's refreshing because, they know where you're from. They know what you're about. They know where you come from. And then my position coach, Derek Fulton, was at Grandview. He's from the Quad Cities too. He went to Davenport Assumption. And I believe his family lived in the neighborhood across from me. So it's they know everything, where I'm from. They know what I'm about. They know my family for a long time. Coach Fulton recruited a bunch of kids from Pleasant Valley that they had a nice pipeline from Grandview to Pleasant Valley. Slavens, I'm trying to remember all the players off the top of my head, but a couple All-Americans up there. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just a great connection and a great fit.
It's funny because how old is Derek Fulton now? I can remember covering him. He's in his
31,
30s?
31, I think. Yeah.
Rusty, you're making me feel old. I don't love it, but you're making me feel old. So now that you're at Central Michigan, because that's the thing, sometimes you commit to a place, and I know your process in high school was later in the process, but a lot of times you commit to a place, you can take a deep breath, kind of figure things out and go. You mentioned it before you went on air. It was quick. You decide you go on a visit, and 48 hours you're living in Michigan. Kind of take me through the quickness that everything transpired in.
So yeah, I had an official visit, I believe January 6th, and school actually starts tomorrow for us, or a Monday. What day is it today? It starts on January 13th. So I had to literally go back home after my official visit, packed everything up, came right back up here, got moved in, and really I've been trying to get used to how much it snows up here and how nonstop it snows. I have to go scrape my car every time I want to leave, and just pretty much getting settled, driving around town, trying to figure things out.
Rusty, you got to Michigan in time. I'm a beloved Detroit Lions fan. I got my Dan Campbell bobblehead. So is it a little Lions crazy up there? Isn't it a beautiful thing?
Everyone I met, the first thing they say is you're going to become a Lions fan. They're beyond passionate about the Lions up here. It's crazy. Everybody in town.
Welcome, my friend. Are you a Bears fan?
My family's Bears fans, but it's hard to root for them when they're so bad. Everyone in my family's always rooted for them for so long, and I just kind of watched them because it's my family's team, and it's personally, I don't really have a.
You don't seem invested, Rusty. I feel like I could seal the deal here. I mean, think Laporta, think Jack Campbell, think those Iowa dudes up there, Neiman's up there. You get back to me on that. You mentioned your family. Your dad's one of my favorite people. I've known him for a long, long time. And what have they meant to you during this process? Because in life, everyone wants to see life go smoothly, and I think people quickly realize, a lot of adults know it, you're an adult now, you know it, that there's a lot of bumps along the way. What has that family, your mom, not just your dad, your mom's the better half, what have they meant for you during this process, and what does it mean to you for them to be there and have your back all the time?
Well, the first time I called my dad, because, he's a football coach and he understands how it all works, when I hit the portal, and he said, it's going to work out, things will be fine, and then he was right. I mean, my mom and my dad were pretty much just supporting me throughout the entire process, and really understanding of my situation and where I was. And they, I think they knew ahead of, like my dad especially knew ahead of time that this day was going to come, especially this year. So, I couldn't contact coaches for a little bit because the portal never officially opened yet, but he was reaching out to schools for me, supporting me. And then, eventually I ended up here, but the nonstop support, it's been crazy. And I told him, don't settle on me. You guys still got another son here. I got to go support Iowa too.
Well, the best part is you just said, Dad was right, and you'll be a dad someday. Anytime. So there you go to your dad. He now has it on camera. You saying he was right, because that's mine. Don't ever say that yet. They're too young. Hopefully they figure out someday that they were right. Before I let you go, I want to talk to you about a few more things. You mentioned Joey, and a lot of Iowa fans watch this show. A lot of Quad City fans know all about Joey. I'm super excited to see what he can do at the University of Iowa. What are your expectations for little brother, and how good can he do in that system with those people that you know very well?
So he's walking into a great situation. Coach Barnett is a fantastic coach. Coach Hodge, my position coach, was a huge fan of him. He's a great coach. And then Joey, he doesn't talk a lot. And, Iowa likes those type of kids. He doesn't talk a lot. He kind of keeps to himself. But I've never, and I'm not saying because I'm just his brother, but I've never seen an athlete work as hard and as dedicated as he is. He has like an addiction to the weight room. He's there every day, sometimes twice a day. And he's really earned this opportunity for himself. And, I think he's going to go in there in red shirt. He's about 260 pounds of just pure muscle. So I expect him to go in there red shirt and just put on some weight. And I think he's going to do great things. I mean, he's as fast as it comes for being an O-lineman, quick and twitchy, stronger than an ox. And I'm really excited for what's going to happen to him there.
Has there been any conversations between you and Coach Drinkle yet about Pleasant Valley and Bettendorf? Has that rivalry come up at all yet?
No, not yet. I kind of dropped the rivalry once I left high school, but no, I don't have my dad coached against him when he was a player, so I don't have any personal Pleasant Valley Bettendorf beef with them, but no, not yet.
Come next fall, you got to come up with a creative wager or bet when it comes to PV Bettendorf week, don't you?
Oh yeah, I think winner is to buy the other one dinner. I think that's what I might propose to him.
At some place here.
Wear it all my
someplace back here, like your favorite
someplace
place
to Mount Pleasant.
Yeah. There you go.
Someplace to Mount Pleasant.
I want to leave you with talking about Pleasant Valley because it's a fantastic high school. It's doing huge things. And I know it's where you got your roots, got your foundation, where you got started. What does that school, that community mean to not just yourself, but so many other student athletes that have gone on to do such big things?
Oh, man. I mean, really, since a child, I've had great support at the Pleasant Valley Elementary schools. I've had great teachers, very great teachers since I was young. The support cast from the fans really, I felt like, has been always very passionate, from the parents to the players. I mean, all my best memories are at Pleasant Valley. Like, that's the last time football is really fun for a student athlete. That's the time you get to go out there with your boys on a Friday night lights, and you just get to play football and have fun. And, we were kicking butt when I was there. So it was awesome. That's when sports, I feel like, really at Pleasant Valley amped itself, women and guys. The women's sports at Pleasant Valley are dominating. Very dominating. And, I feel like every team and every sport was just going to state, doing all these great things when I was there. And, I think we took pride in that. And, I'm still in touch with a lot of people at Pleasant Valley. Very supportive community throughout my entire college process too.
Rusty, I appreciate you. We had Cole Rusk on last week, and he was waving the banner for Illinois. Not just that, but the golf outing. But I do appreciate you. You're an honorary Hawkeye. So next year I expect Joey and yourself to captain and go win that thing. Like, he's bragging and everything else. I know Altmaier was a ringer, and I didn't bring it up to him. I did off air. But there were a few accusations. I don't know if you feel like everything was on the up and up.
Yeah, they definitely cheated. I saw it with my own eyes. You know, I saw them changing the scorecard at the very end once we told them our score. I caught a hole, and I was just like, this is not a fair competition. And we were straight up outplaying them. So I love it. I don't know. We did get some videos, like cameras on them at all times next year.
Yeah, no, I think we will do that. But hey, I do appreciate you coming and taking part in that. It's a big event for me personally, so you and your family have always been great to me. I appreciate it. Hey, if you miss Quad City Sports when you're up there, make sure you subscribe to the Off the Air. You can keep up with everything all the way up there.
Absolutely. We'll do
all right. Rusty, best of luck. We appreciate you. And we got a lot more to get to coming up on the show. It's a Monday in the Quad Cities. Some football to talk about, some basketball to talk about, a lot more to get to. We will be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships. Incorporates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and
the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
You from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To play, call the man himself. It's Snoop at 30314-8197. And find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Let's try that. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. A Monday here in the Quad City. Next couple 15, 20 minutes, we're going to wrap things up a little early today, but under the weather this weekend. Also, the old internet connection isn't as great as it once was. So hopefully we can continue to rock through this and get through. We got a lot more to get to coming up later this week, efforting some fun interviews and a lot of sports talk as we work our way through the week right here in the Quad Cities. And it was a big week for several area standouts. And we're going to start on the the college hardwood, where it was a big Saturday for former North Scott product, Titan Anderson, of course. Titan Anderson now with Northern Illinois, a senior there, and they were down by 1 with 4.4 seconds to play, and then Titan Anderson did this. Take a look. They are now 4-2 in conference play, so a big victory, and of course that gets us old timers Thinking about at North Scott, he did something very similar. A buzzer beater, a 3-point buzzer beater against Waterloo West, put North Scott into the state, or should say punch their ticket to state. So he did that back in 2020. Congratulations to Titan Anderson, enjoying a great season with Northern Iowa. We'll try to see if we can track down Titan Anderson later on this week. Maybe we can have him in on the show. Of course, another local product doing big things in the college level was Owen Freeman. I can remember going back to the University of Iowa last year when Owen Freeman won the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, went up to Carver Hawkeye, did an interview with him, and you could see he was not happy about the fact that he was the co-Big Ten Freshman of the Year. He shared the award with Mac Mabako from Indiana. Of course, Iowa played Indiana this past weekend, and they hammered the Hoosiers. It was a good night for Owen Freeman, 16 points, 12 rebounds. And after the game, Owen Freeman reminding everyone that he was the real Freshman of the Year last year. Take a listen.
It was never co-Freshman of the Year. I'm just going to make that apparent. Never.
So Owen reminding everyone that he was the true Freshman of the Year of the Big Ten last year. Congratulations to him. A big night for him. As I mentioned, 16 points, 12 rebounds. Another Moline product, Brock Harding, with a double-double as well. He had 10 points and 10 assists. It's exciting to see them do well. It's exciting to see Brock do well. Of course, Brock has plenty of doubters throughout his life, and especially at the University of Iowa. 10 assists against Indiana. Everyone told me that once they started Big Ten play and they started playing real competition that Brock was going to struggle. Brock playing some good basketball. Of course, he joined us on the show last week. If you want to check out that interview, you can find it on our YouTube page right now. That is from last week. Iowa now heads to the state of California. They have 2 games this week with USC and UCLA. I believe it'd be nice if they could at least split those 2 games. They're 3-2 in conference play right now. The schedule gets a lot tougher for Iowa towards the end of the season. See if they can go out west for the first time as a conference opponent and see if they can knock off either USC, UCLA, or both. It was a tough weekend for the Fighting Illini talking about college basketball. They fell to USC. They'll be back in action with a couple big games this week. We'll talk all about the Illini coming up later this week. Our good friend Ked Prince will join the show to talk about the Fighting Illini later on this week. Some more local products doing well. Caden Burr, kicker at Bettendorf, has committed to the University of Iowa, so he will become a Hawkeye, going from being a Bulldog to a Hawkeye. Really solid kicker and an extremely long leg. I remember going to one of his games this year and watching him kick a 56-yard field goal with ease. He would have made it by 10 yards. A very good kicker, a very good leg. We'll see how he does at the University of Iowa. Also, congratulations to an Alleman standout, Adeline Voss. She scored her career point number 1,000. She is just a junior, so exciting to see what she can do for the rest of her career. Of course, her old man, Pat, was in my class at Alleman, so congratulations to the entire family. More importantly, congratulations to Adeline on the milestone of 1,000 points. And of course, speaking of women's basketball, or girls basketball, I should say, it was a big day, big weekend here in the Quad Cities. The IH Mississippi Valley Credit Union shootout. 12 teams from Iowa and Illinois going head-to-head. It was the Iowa side winning this one. They won 8 games. The Illinois side won 4, so they win it 8-4. It's the 8th straight season that the Iowa side has come away with bragging rights. Hats off to Gary Thrapp and everything he's done for that tournament, for that shootout, I should say. It was close to being done with, and Gary has taken that thing over and not just maintained it and breathed new life into it, but he's also grown it to an entirely different level with all the teams that are playing. They also have a sophomore tournament as well, so Gary Thrapp continuing to do great things around the area in the Quad Cities, so we want to thank him for everything he's done, and we look forward to the shootout coming up again next year. See if the Illinois side can get back on track, and that's the way it's been for both the guys and the girls. You know, when they first started these shootouts, I remember thinking, well, the better basketball is being played in Illinois, and that's just simply not the case right now. The Iowa side has dominated the boys tournament or shootout. They've now dominated the girls shootout, so good basketball throughout the entire Quad Cities on both sides of the river, but for right now, the Iowa side has bragging rights, that is for sure. Well, we're going to take one last break. When we get back, we'll wrap up today's show, kind of look ahead to the rest of the week. You're watching Off the Air with with Matt Randazzo.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air. A Monday morning here in the Quad Cities, January 13th. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, Pat Anger on earlier in the show. Pat will join us most Mondays to talk everything, well, just basically everything. We also had his anger management, where Pat gives life advice, a very deep message from Pat Anger this week. Make sure you go check it out if you missed it. Also want to thank Rusty VanWetzinga for joining us. I'm excited to see what Rusty does at the next level at Central Michigan, of course, spending the first 2 years of his career at the University of Iowa. So make sure you check out all of that. We got a lot more to get to throughout this week, planning on some several exciting guests throughout the way. Tomorrow, Tom Kakert will be in studio with us to talk a little Hawkeyes and everything else. Also lining up interviews and trying to track down Titan Anderson, Matt Drinkle, and maybe even Dan Pearson sometime this week as well. Also excited to sit down with Kevin Tippett eventually to talk about his fantastic career at North Scott as he hung it up after 18 seasons as the head coach of the Lancers. So a lot to look forward to this week, and we want to thank all of you guys for watching. Make sure you're subscribing. If you missed the show, you want to check it out in podcast form, you can do that on every podcast platform except for Apple right now. We're hoping to change that Apple here real soon. So that'll do it for today's show. Cutting it a little short, battling a little bit of a bug over the weekend. So we're going to cut things a little short today. We'll be back with a full episode tomorrow right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Thank you so much for watching.